Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Going ahead, screen fields. Screen fields are nothing but the fields that you see on each and every page or every form. Here, these are all the fields. Now you can move each field from one section to another. And you can also define which are the fields that needs to be shown. Here you will get the list of under the screen fields. You see that there are all the subtabs available similar to field groups. And under that you can define which are the fields that needs to be shown. Under main, you could see that these are the fields which are shown. For example, custom form. The first field is the custom form. Now, whether you want to show that or not, if I uncheck this and save it, this field will no more be shown on the purchase order form. Similarly, whether that field should be mandatory or not. By default, it is mandatory. But for, say, supplier, in case if you want that to be mandatory, you can check that. Similarly, what should be mandatory? Similarly, what should be mandatory? Similarly, what should be the display type? Whether it should be normal, inline, or disabled. Normal means the user will be able to edit that particular field. Inline, you will be able to see, but you will not be able to edit it. But you will be able to edit it via script. In case, if you disable it, you will not be able to edit it via script or by on the UI. Similarly, in case, if it is a checkbox, what should be the default? Whether it should be checked or unchecked. For example, if I go here, if this particular field is shown, whether that should be checked or unchecked. It will show that. Apart from that description, but in case if you want to change the label of that as well, these custom forms should be known as any other field. You can change the label here. And apart from that, you can define the field group. You have defined the field group under main as primary, classification, and intercompany. What should be the field group for each and every field that you have? Depending on that, it will show under these field groups. For example, if I scroll down here, you can see that there is currency which doesn't have any field group defined. It doesn't have any field group defined. If I come here, you could see that there is currency, but it is lying. And it is not under any field group. For example, if I want this particular currency field to be under main group, I can just go there and I want that to be under primary information. I've done that. What will happen? What will happen is it will come under these primary information. And if I save this, I'll also make that as a preferred form. If I save this and if I refresh, you will see that this particular currency field will not show anymore here. It will not show under the primary information. If I refresh this, Now it is showing under primary information. Is that fine? I'll customize the form again. Similarly, you can do it for all other fields that you would like to. I'll just delete the other form that I don't need. Coming back, you can also see various other subtypes as well. Under items, you have exchange rate in case. If you want to show the discount reason and other field as well, can just check those. Current that items, if I come here, you can see that there is only exchange rate that is showing up here because the checkbox is only checked for exchange rate. Similarly, under shipping, you will see all shipping related fields here. Similarly for other subtypes. Now going to actions, I have used these actions somewhere. Do you remember where I used it? Do you remember where I used it? Any answers? Yes? No, they won't. If I go to this particular form, I'd see I'd use these actions right. Do you remember now where I have used this? Whenever I showed you a GL impact for a particular transaction, I showed it from here, right? Here it defines what should be shown under actions, whether it should be shown as a menu or it should be shown as a button. Some of the actions are shown in the edit mode. Some of the actions are shown in the save mode. Currently, the memorize and go to register are shown under edit mode. If I save this and go to actions, it will show me GL, impact and all other actions. These defines what are the actions that you need to show and whether it should be displayed as a button or it should be displayed as a menu. Whether you want to show these actions or not, it is defined here. And whether it should be shown as a button or a menu can be defined here. Whether, for example, for this delete, you want to have a button, you can just make it as a button and you will be able to see a delete button in the save mode. You don't need to go to actions and delete it accordingly. Similarly, sublist. Sublist defines the column fields or the columns. Under sublist, you have these items and under items, you have these expenses and items, right? If I go to this purchase order under sublist, under items, I have expenses and items. Accordingly, it shows the expenses and items. In case if I don't want to show that as an expense, I can give it any other label as well. I am not able to remove those because these are mandatory. I cannot remove the expenses and items in the accounting preferences as well. We had checked that checkbox right. Whether you want the expenses on the purchase order, that's the reason it's showing the expenses, or else it would have only showed items. Similarly, under relationships, it will show me the contacts. If I come here under relationships, it will show me the contacts. Similarly, communication will have messages, activities in case. If I want to show the events and class calls as well, it will show that accordingly. If I go to communication here, you can see all these things, right? Events, tasks, phone calls, files. It is dependent on these particular things. Similarly for related records and on and forth. Are we clear till now? You can create a custom subtab. I'll show you that as of now, just you can say, emphasize currently on the customization of the forms. We'll complete this and then I'll show you that. Similarly, sublist fields. Sublist fields means the fields that are shown here. Under items, what are the column fields that you would like to see? It defines that item received, available, average and all other fields after items you have received. Then you have quantity units and all other stuff. Here you can see items, quantity units and all other fields. These defines which are the column fields that you need to show and what should be the label for it. Going ahead, in case if you are using scripting, then you can add some custom code to it. This is a technical stuff. Apart from that, which are the rules that should be able to see this particular form? Generally, we don't do it on these particular forms. We do it on the roles itself. Whenever I'll be going to the roles tomorrow, I'll show you how you can define a particular or how you give the access of a particular form to a role. Generally, we don't do it here. This is provided by NetSuite, but we generally don't use it here. We do. You use it on the roles itself. Apart from that, linked forms, each and every form, you can say after purchase order. What do you create? You create an item receipt. After item receipt, you create a bill. And after bill, you create a bill payment. You can link various custom forms. For example, when I create a bill from a purchase order, when I save this, you will see the bill button right. If I click on bill, the bill page will open up right. When I open that bill page, which should be the or what should be the custom form that should be used for the bill, you can link various custom forms to various linked transactions. Any questions? This is how you can customize a particular transaction form. In the similar fashion, you can customize a particular entry form as well. Entry form is generally used for its entities such as customer, vendor and all other stuff. Here you have entity, here you can. If you want to customize a particular C customer form, you can customize it. If I click on customize, you can just go ahead and click on customize and the new form will open up. It is similar to the transaction forms as well. Only the thing is it will not have any sublist and sublist fields because of customer form will not have any line items or an entry form will not have those things. But apart from that, the thing remains the same. The way in which you customize a particular transaction form, in the similar fashion, you can customize an entry form as well. Is that fine? Here you can see that you have subtabs, field groups, fields instead of sublist and sublist fields. You have fields only. You do have sublist, but it is generally the ones. For example, if I open it here, for example, under billing or maybe under sorry communication, you have all this sublist. Similar to that, customer forms can also have those sublists. Under communication, you can see that there are various sublists. In case, if you want to have those and if I enter now, coming back to your earlier question, how can I have the sublist here in case? If I want to, in that case, what you will have to do is you will have to define a sublist first. You can create a sublist and once you create those, add it under communications. It can be added under communications or any other subtype that you would like to. For creating a sublist, you need to go to customization forms and here you can define the sublist. Here you can define a sublist, but for that sublist, you will have to create one safe search first a search what you shouldn't show under that particular sublist. For example, under transactions, you would like to show journal. Similarly, in case, if you want to show anything, you can create a sublist. I'll just see if I can use any standard one. Let's see if we can have this. We'll have this transaction. You can define the tab as well. For example, I want that to be under communication. If I define that and if I want that on the purchase, I can check that and I can click on save. Accordingly, it will show me. On the purchase, it will show me under communication tab for purchase transaction. If I come here, if I refresh this, I'll customize the form again. I'll go to sublist under communication. It should have shown me here. I'll just see which it's not showing because it's on the save of that particular thing. But I'll go back there and see if I can add that. Go back there or I'll just open one of the saved purchase order. It should show me there because this is in the edit mode. That's the reason it's not showing up there. Or it will only show if there are any results in that particular search. At least you have got the concept right. How you can add a sublist here. You can just create a sublist and it will show up accordingly. I'll just select the form that I have created. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see that. Let that purchase auto get saved first. I will go to Communication tab. Here you can see that we have this test transactions right. Yes, any questions? Any queries? The first thing here is you create the sublist. And on the sublist means the thing here is first you have to create a safe search. That safe search then can be selected on this sublist, and accordingly it will show you on that particular subtab that you have selected. Similarly, you can also customize a particular address form. Address form is nothing but the address that you select on the customer, vendors, employees, and all other entities, right? If you want to customize a particular address form, you can just click on Customize Standard Form. In case if you want to edit a particular already edited form, you can just click on Edit. In case if I want to customize a particular address form, I can click on Customize for Standard Form. It is also similar. It also shows or it just defines what are the fields that you would like to show country at attention, address, and all other stuff, what should be the label, and whether you want to show that field or not. Similarly, depending on that fields, it will define what should be or with what should be shown under which particular line, and that's it, and whether it should be applicable to only a particular specific country. In case if you want to use this particular form only for a specific country, you can just click on it and you can select the countries for which you would like to have this address form. Whenever you select that country, these form will show up automatically. Any questions? Any queries? This is how you can customize a particular transaction form. In this similar fashion, you can customize a particular entry form. Entry form is nothing but for entities such as customer, vendors, items, employees, and all other stuff. Similarly, in case if you want to customize a particular address form which is used on the customers, vendors, and employees, you can customize address form as well. Similarly, if you want to add a sublist, first you will have to create a save search, save, search, save. Just how that can be created. We have a session for that. I'll show you how a save search can be created, and that save search can be selected on the sublist that it will show up under the subtab that you have selected. That's it for today. Tomorrow we go through the rules. Tomorrow I'll let you know what are the topics that are remaining. We have to go through roles customization. We have to go through reports and save searches. We have to go through sysv import. We have to go through workflows as well. These are the 4 main topics that are remaining. Apart from that, in case if I remember that something is pending, I'll go through that as well. But these are the 4 main topics that we need to go through, and apart from that, we'll also have a one session, maybe for accounting related stuff, some accounting transactions, and in brief, if required, I'll also show you the projects in brief, maybe in 5 to 10 minutes. This is our schedule that is remaining. We'll try to complete all these topics by end of this week. Today we'll go through role customization. We'll see how a role can be customized. For doing that, you need to go to Setup. If you scroll down, you will see User and Roles. Now, there are 2 things here. We'll see how you can manage a user and how you can manage the roles as well. First, we'll go through Manage Roles. What NetSuite does is it provides some standard roles. Standard roles in the sense such as accounting accountant, AR clerk, A clerk, then store manager, and on and forth. And each role has a center associated with it. If I sort it by center type, you will see that we have the accounting center. Apart from that, we'll also have classic center, which is the one that we use, wherein you see all these activities, transactions, and all other menu options. Apart from that, you also have customer center. In case if you're using e-commerce or website, then you will have this e-commerce management center as well. Employee center. This is you can say a very limited role. All other roles are full access roles, wherein you have to pay a certain amount. But for employee center role, the cost is very minimum. I think even 1/5 of the regular role. All the users who will be entering, only timesheets and expense reports can be given this employee center role. Apart from that, you can have executive center. Executive center is generally for the CEO, CFO, and the management. Then you have marketing center, partner center. Partner center is also a APC kind of role or alliance partner role advanced partner center role wherein you can give them some limited functionality to the external partners. Apart from that, you can have project centers, sales center, and shipping and support center. You can categorize these roles depending on the center type. And also you can see that whether that role is a customized or standard role or a customized role. Wherever you see this customized button is a standard role. Wherever you see an edit button is a role which has been customized. Any questions till now? Here you can see that there are various standard roles which have been already provided by NetSuite. And depending on the role type, they can also be given various center types. Center types, you can say define which area a particular person or a role works in. Here you can see that there are various standard roles which are available. Here till here we have the center or you can say the standard roles. Now, if you want to customize a particular role, why customize? Because if NetSuite has already provided these standard rules, why is the need to customize a role? Because even if NetSuite has customized these standard rules depending on the organization, there might be requirement that the accountant might not require some information or permissions, or it might require some additional permissions as well. In that case, what we can do is we can use these standard roles to customize or tailor it as per the requirement of the organization or the client. For example, if I want to customize a particular role, for example, if I want to customize this particular accountant role, I'll just click on Customize. And it will take me to the page wherein I can customize. I can give various permissions to a particular role. Here I can give it a name, a custom name that would like to have. I can give it an ID. The ID is nothing but the internal ID that in case if I'm using this particular role in scripting, I'll be using that particular role. And here you can see that the center automatically pops up depending on the role that we are customizing. Apart from that employee restriction, there can be some restrictions that can be put in. You can put in some restrictions. Here you can see that employee restriction. Depending on the employee, we can define various locations, departments and cost centers. Do you remember that? On the employee, you can set the location, department, cost center and subsidiary as well. Depending on that, if we have defined something on that employee master, here this restriction would come into picture. No default. What this does is, it will have no restriction. This particular employee or this particular role will be able to see all the transactions or all the information related to other departments as well or other locations as well. And it would not default to anything. Non-default to on. What this does is it will not restrict any employees. But what it will do is whenever is a particular transaction, it will default to on. In case if we have defined that the location for this particular employee is, say, Mumbai, it will pull in location as Mumbai. It will default to on. But if the user will be able to change that and there will be no restriction, do you get that? What do you mean by non-default to on? Non-default to on means there are no restrictions. The user will be able to see all the information for all the locations or all the departments. But default to on means if he is from Mumbai and if he is trying to enter a particular purchase order, it will automatically fetch the location as Mumbai. But he will be able to change it if required. Apart from that on, subordinate and unassigned, on means what is its own location. Subordinate in this sense, if that particular location has some child locations. In that case, he will be able to see the information or transactions of the child location as well and unassigned. In case if we have not selected any location on any transaction, then the user will be able to see those transactions also. He will be able to see 3 types of transactions. And own and subordinates only is. He will be able to see only transactions which are for his own location or classification and subordinates or child location. But he will not be even able to see the unassigned transactions. For a particular transaction, if we have not selected any location, that user will not be able to see those transactions. Do you get these 4 different options? Unassigned in this sense, if you have not selected anything on the transaction, if the location is not mandatory and if you have not selected it, it will be unassigned, right? It's not to any location. Did you get it? Wherever you have not selected anything or nothing, but unassigned. All the classifications. All the classifications, locations, department, call center, in case if you have created any custom segments and if you have selected those on the employee, then those restrictions would apply. And if you have selected this, you will have the option at least. Here, the user will not be able to see or edit it. But in case, if you check this particular checkbox, the user will be able to see the transactions of other locations or cost centers, but you will not be able to edit it if you check this checkbox. Similarly, issue role is not that important. Apart from that, do not restrict employee fields. In case, if you don't want to restrict employee fields, we can check this checkbox. In case, if you want to restrict this particular role only for time and expenses, then we can check this checkbox. If this is a sales role, then we can have this checkbox support role, partner role. Sales and support you might have when we went to the employee, right? Whether that particular role is for a particular or that particular employee is a support employee or sales employee. You can define it on the role as well. And this is a partner role in case if this is a partner, we can give access to various partners as well. That can be defined here as well. And core administration permissions. The administration permissions are generally only with the administrator, right? But you cannot give administrator access to each and every role, right? In case if you want to give some administration permissions to a particular role, you can make this as a core administration permission that even if that role is not an administrator, it can be given some administration permissions. We spoke about the restrictions for classifications. But in case if you want to restrict this particular user as per subsidiary as well, we can do that. In case if we want the user to be accessible to other subsidiaries, then we can select these all. Active means all the active subsidiaries. User subsidiaries that the user will be able to access transactions only related to his particular subsidiary which has been selected on his employee master. Select. If you select selected, then you can select some specific subsidiaries if required. That particular role would be able to see transactions or enter transactions related to the selected subsidiaries. Similarly, if we have selected something and if we want the user to be able to at least view transactions of other subsidiaries, then it would be possible. Going ahead, whether this is a single sign-on apply. Single sign-on. Do you know what is a single sign-on? Like that, if we sign in our laptop or our portal and company website automatically sign in. Right. In case if we want to use a single sign-on or the same password that we use for other applications as well, then we can check this checkbox. The single sign-on password would be applicable here. In case if this is a web service only role that the user will not be able to log in through a UI. In case if we are doing some integration with a third-party software and there we are going to use web services, then we can check this checkbox. In case if we want to restrict this particular user to a device ID, we can do that as well. Device ID can be defined on the user and only that particular user would be able to log in if he is using a particular machine or device which have been given the restriction. Apart from that, in case if we have a new module, you can say a supply chain module, then it will have these features: estimated landed cost and enable customer part number. It's not part of the standard module. It's part of the new module which is known as supply chain. Apart from that, whether you want these particular roles to have the two-factor authentication, that whenever a user logs in with a particular password, whether there should be any two-factor authentication required. In case if it is required, then for how many sessions or how many duration that particular two-factor should be applicable. Maximum you can do it for 30 days. Any questions till now? This is also another module, dunning module, that is a part of the dunning module. These particular fields. Any questions till now? No kidding. Going ahead now, we will see the permissions. Under permissions, you can define what are the permissions that are to be given to this particular role. It can be divided into 5 things: transactions, reports, list, setup and custom record. Transactions are nothing but all the standard transactions such as purchase order, sales order, invoice, cash, sale bills, everything, every transaction would come here. Here, in case if you want to give a permission to a particular specific role, you can just select it from the list. For example, adjust inventory, and you can define the level of the permission. Yesterday we went through this, right? What should be the permission level? Do remember, what do you mean by view, create, edit and full? As well as create, in the sense you will be only able to create it. Once you save it, you will not be able to edit it. In edit, you can create. And once you have saved it, in case if you want to edit, you can edit it as well. What do you mean by full? Full includes all the delete access. In case if we want these particular users to be able to delete a particular transaction, we can give the full access. And if you try to enter any option wherein it is already added, it will give you a message that permission should be unique. The adjust inventory is already given that, or you have already given the permission to adjust inventory. This is how you can give the permission to a particular transaction. Do you get it? Same for reports. There are various reports, right? Standard as well as custom reports. In case if you want to give this particular user access to a particular report, you can just select the report and give them the access accordingly. Apart from that, lists are nothing. But here you see the list, right? You have all the options: accounting, supply chain, employees, relationships. We have customers, vendors. Whatever is there in the list or whatever entities, you can give the access to those in the list section. Example, if you want the user this particular role to be able to access a particular list such as employee, customer or vendor, here you can give the role and the level of the access. Similarly, setup. Setup in the sense here you have all the options, right? Company information, accounting preferences, general preferences, and all other setup related stuff. Or say accounting list and all those stuff. Here you can give the setup related information or setup related access. And on the custom record, you can define whether these particular roles should be able to edit, or you can say access a particular custom record. We went to the custom record right in one session. In case, if you want to give the access to that particular custom record to a particular role, you can do it from any queries related to the permissions. Here, you can divide it into 5 things: transactions, reports, list, setup and custom record. Now it is for you to decide or understand which particular thing will fall under which particular section. You should be able to differentiate that, right? Yes, this is a transaction. It should be under transaction. This is a list or this is a part of the setup. Then you should be able to differentiate that. In case if you are not able to, you'll have to just search in those things in these particular different sections and give the permissions accordingly. Do you get it? In list, what are you going to select? You'll not find sales order under list. You'll only find it in transaction. Transaction is a different thing. List is a different thing, right? List such as customer, vendor, employees, all the entities, chart of accounts and all that stuff. They are not a transaction. Sales order is a transaction. See, you will not be able to see sales order. Each and everything would be unique. You will not be able to see 2 things under 2 sections. Going ahead, restrictions. Similar to this. This was an earlier thing. Here you would be able to define what are the restrictions that you would like to set. But now NetSuite has come up with another thing. In case if you want to restrict apart from these particular employee restrictions, in case if you want to give any other restrictions on the segments, you can do that. You can select the segment. For example, you can select a particular department. Location. You can define the restriction, whether non-ordinate, subordinate or owner only. In case if you have selected this, you will be able to check this checkbox, allow viewing or not. Similar to the one that we saw here. In case if you want to have any other restrictions apart from that, you can define it here. Going ahead, forms. Yesterday we went to the forms as well. On the forms you could define that. In case if you want to give a particular role, that particular access right to that particular form, But I mentioned that we generally don't do that on the form. We do that on the role level. Do you remember that? Here on the role, we can define for which particular role, what should be the access to a particular form. For example, for transaction. Here you have bills and various forms that are there for bills. For example, you have primary supplier bill plus landed cost and standard. In case if you don't want this particular user to be able to access the standard role and the primary supplier plus landed cost, only this particular bill. Whenever this particular role will log in into the system and will try to create a bill, he will be able to see or only this particular form would be shown to that particular role. And in case if we are giving multiple permissions to multiple bills, you can define it here which would be the preferred one. You can do it on the role level as well. You can do it for various transactions. Here you will get the list of all the transactions. Bill, cash sale, purchase order, invoice estimate. Every transaction would show up here and you would see all the forms. In case if you want to give access to a particular form, only you can give it here. And in case if you're giving it to multiple forms, you can also define which would be the preferred one. In a similar fashion, you can also define the item forms. In case if there are multiple item forms, you can define which form should be shown to a particular role. Similarly, custom record. On the custom record, we had seen right that you can create multiple forms for a custom record as well. In case if you want to give access to a particular form of the custom record, you can select it here. Similarly, you can do it for others such as bill of materials, time entry. Entity will have all the contacts, customer, vendors and all other entities and lists. Here you can define which particular form should be shown to a particular role. See Raman campaigns and all other stuff. Other records in case if there are any other records such as in case if you have installed some other modules as well. You will be able to see all those stuff. Similarly for inventory detail as well. Whatever forms that are there in case, if you want to give access to a particular form, you can do it here. Are we till now? Similarly for searches. Searches are nothing but saved searches. In case if you want to give access to a particular search, you can do it here. But we generally don't do it on the rule. Whenever we create a particular search, on the search itself, we define which are the rules which should be able to view a particular search. Generally, we don't use this. Similarly, you can have a role level preferences as well. In case if you want to give role level preferences, you can define it on these preferences tab. Similarly, dashboard, whether these particular rules should be able to publish the dashboard or not. And in case if yes, what should be the dashboard that should be seen by this particular rule. And same for translation. In case if we are having different languages, if you want this name, this role to be known as known with a different role or different name in different languages, you can define the translation. This is how you can define or you can say customize a particular rule. Any questions, any queries? See the earlier, this was only related to this. You can say whatever restrictions that you see here, they have come. You can see they have the latest one. Next, we will introduce this just here, or earlier it was only this one employee restriction, and also you had option for, you can say, restricting it as per location or department. What they have done is they have transferred this stuff to this particular subtab. Apart from that, any questions? No from myself. Apart from that, you also have a couple of other options. Depending on this, if you have defined a role and if you have given access to a particular user with a particular role, you can go to Setup, Users and Rules and click on Manage Users. You'll be able to see all the users whom the access has been given, the name, email, ID, role, and to which particular role it has been given. A particular user might be given multiple roles. Here you can see that Ankley and Water has been given access to multiple customer centers. Here you can define those accordingly. Here you will get the list of all the users to whom the access has been given. Apart from that, this is just for information purposes. In case if you want to know which particular user or how many users have been given access and which particular role, you can say it from here. You can just go to Setup Users and Rules and Manage Users. Similarly, in case if you want to see the login audit trail, who logged in, when was he logged, what was the time, what was the email, ID, you can come here and just click on Submit. If you click on Submit, you'll be able to see the date. If I sort that out, you can see that you have logged in with a particular on a particular date. What was the email ID user? What's the role? What was the email ID and whether it was a success or a failure? Here you will be able to see which are the users who have logged in with which particular role. And the last thing related to roles and permissions is, if you want to compare two different roles or multiple roles, you can do that. You can just go to Setup User Roles and click on View Role Differences. Here you will be able to see the differences between two roles. For example, I just like the role. Say US Controller. This is the base role. It would get compared, or whatever rows that you select here would get compared to the base role. And I can multi-select. In case if I want to select these three roles, I want to compare these three roles. I can pump it with this particular base role and whether I want to show all the things or just the differences. I can define it here. In case if I want to show everything, I can just run, check this and click on Show. It will show me the permissions. What's the category? Whether it's a list or a custom record or a transaction, everything should be shown here. Here you can see Setup Transactions, everything. What is the permission and what is the level of the permissions to each and every role that we had selected. For example, accounts, the chart of accounts, the US controller has full access. But the sales rep, purchasing, inventory manager and marketing manager has none. They will not be able to see the accounts. Are you till now? In case if you want to see only differences. you can just go to Show Role Differences. I again select the US controller. I select some other roles again. And I want to see only differences. It will only show the differences in case if all the users or all the roles have the same permission. It will not show up here. And you can take an extract of this in case if you want to and share it with the client that they can just make the differences and accordingly you can make the required changes to the role. This is how you can customize a particular role. You can view the differences between a particular role. You can view the users as well to whom the access has been given. And also you can define or you can see the view audit trail or the audit trail of the log in that has been done. Apart from that, there is one small thing related to two-factor authentication. It will show you which are the roles to whom the two-factor authentication is applicable. If you click on it, it will show you the roles for which the access has been given or not and whether you want to give the access. For example, in case if you want to give the two-factor authentication required for CEO and what should be the device for the maximum trusted, you can say duration, you can define it here. Here, you can define it on the role as well, or you can define it for all the roles together under these particular two-factor authentication rules. Is that fine? Any questions, any queries? In case, if you have any queries or something like that, you can come to me or you can just click on help and you'll be able to see the help associated with it. Any questions from previous sections that we have gone through during these days? That's it for today. See you tomorrow again. Tomorrow we'll start off with the say. Either we'll go through reports and safe searches or we'll go through what's remaining. Workflow CSV. The CSV will not take that much time. We'll try to complete it depending on the time that we have. But the workflows and reports and safe searches, we'll see what we can start tomorrow. That's it for today. See you tomorrow. Bye. Workflows are nothing, but you can say you can define various actions on the UI and you can prompt it to be triggered whenever required. Instead of using scripts, to an extent, you can create a workflow that, whenever there are small actions which are required to be performed, can be done. And you don't need to go to a technical person to create those scripts for you. You can just create a workflow and depending on the trigger of that workflow, those actions are performed whenever required. To create a workflow, you need to go to Customizations workflow. And if you click on Workflows, you can see all the workflows that have been created. And if you click on New, you will be able to create a new workflow. Here, you will get the list of all the workflows that are there. Some might have come from the bundles as well. Now, earlier, what used to happen is whenever we wanted to create a workflow is generally created for, say, approvals and all those stuff. We had to create it from scratch. But now what NetSuite has done is they have provided various bundles. When we went through the accounting preferences and all those stuff, you could see that there were some suite apps for approvals. When we install those approval bundles, those workflows get created. And we can customize those workflows as per our requirement. It is up to us whether we want to go through those standard apps. You can see workflows and edit those, or we can create it directly from scratch. If we want to create a particular workflow, we can just click on Workflow. We'll take one workflow. I'll show you how you can create it from scratch, and then we'll take one which is already there in the system. Here, you can see that they're in the system. Here you can see that there is a new workflow. And in case if you want to use from a template, say there are various templates available, say basic approval for journal entry or for purchase order basic approval. You can use those workflows as required. Sales order basic approval as well. In case if you want to use these one, you can just click on select and accordingly that workflow or template would be used for creation of the workflow. Are we clear till now? Do you want me to take this template or you want me to create it from scratch? From scratch is good. Before going to that, I'll show you one basic workflow. What is HAT? Here you can see whatever these rectangle boxes are, nothing but a state. It's a state, or you can say whenever a particular thing we want to trigger. We can define what should be there in that particular. You can say state. And on that state, you can define various actions. Whether you want to show a button, or whether you want to lock the record, or you want to navigate from one record to another, or you want to approve something. You can set those actions here. In case, if you want to create a new action, you can click here. And accordingly, a new state will get created. And this arrow is nothing but the transition. Transition is nothing but whenever we are on a state. And if we perform a particular action, what should happen? In case, if we want to transfer or go from one state to another, it should go to the transition. Here you can on the transition, you can define the conditions. For example, if I click on this particular transition arrow here, you can see that if the condition overdue balance is less than 0 and total is less than 100, only then it should transition to approve. Direct. And here you can see that we have defined various values as well. Set field value. What should be the value of a particular field? And in case, if you want to show a particular button, we can do that as well. If it comes under pending approval stage, here you can see that we have added. Or in case, if you want to add a button, say approve or reject, then those buttons can be added. And in case, if you want to remove some buttons or lock some but a record, we can do that in the form of actions. How this can be created from scratch. I'll just go to Customizations, Workflows and click on New. Here, you can give it a name. A test workflow or say test. Approval workflow. You can give it a ID and on which particular record it should be. You can say applicable to. In case if you want to apply it for a sales order or say a purchase order, if it is on a purchase order, what is a purchase order? It's a transaction. I'll define I'll select the record type as transaction. In case if I want to apply that on a particular entity, I can apply that on the entity as well. I'll select transaction. And once I select the transaction, I'll have to select the subtype. A subtype is nothing but the transaction to which it should be applicable to. For example, if I want to apply it to a purchase order, I'll select the subtype as purchase order. In case if I want to apply that for multiple transactions or multiple transaction types, I can do that as well. In case if I want to apply the same workflow to purchase order as well as sales order, I can do that as well. Once this is done, I can keep the description empty as it is. Then we have the release status. In case if it is in testing, then only the person or the owner of this particular workflow would be able, or whenever his tests it or does something, then that workflow would get triggered. If it is released, it will be applicable for all the users who are entering a purchase order, or it will go through that, or the purchase order will go through the approval as required. If it is suspended, then it will not be in the use. Similarly for non-initiated. Apart from that, there are some other rules as well, right? Employee center rules or say advanced partner center rule. In case if those are running, then those roles might have some restrictions or it might not have some permissions, right? In that case, if we want this workflow to be triggered, then we can check this checkbox, execute as admin. What it will do is, even if there are some users who don't have various permissions you can say execute the workflow. That workflow would get executed as in. The user has been logged in with the admin rule. Apart from that, whether we want to keep the history or not, whether we want that to be only when testing or never or always, we can define that. It will just keep the history of that particular workflow. Apart from that, whether these particular workflow, when it should be triggered, whether it should be on an event based. Event based is nothing. Such as when we edit a particular record or say particular record, it will define the initiation or whether it should be scheduled. Scheduled in the instance. Whether we want to run this workflow on a regular basis, say hourly, daily or weekly, we can schedule it as required. If I click on schedule, I'll have to define the schedule. Scheduled when it should get executed. But in case if we want that to be event based, we can keep it at event based. Apart from that, what should be the event? Whether it should be on create or to or edit a particular record, it should get triggered. I can define where it should be either on create or on view update. Apart from that, we can also define the trigger type. Trigger type is nothing when these workflows should get initiated, whether it should be on a save of the record or once it is saved, or the when we load a particular page. That can be defined here. In case if I don't select anything, it will be applicable by default to all. Apart from that, in case if there are any context is nothing but whether you are creating it from UI or from CSV or say from any other third-party integration. Then also whether it should. Workflow should trigger or not. That can be defined here. In case if you want to give a condition that only if that condition is met, then this workflow should initiate. We can define the condition here as well. We can just click on this particular icon and we can define the conditions. Apart from that, in case if we want to have any safe search condition or a localization context, we can do that. Once this is defined, we can just click on save. This will create an instance for the workflow. I will save this particular workflow. And once it is done, then I can define the states and the actions accordingly. Is that fine till now? Now the workflow has been saved. Once it is saved here, I will define what are the states that I want to have. What are the actions that I want to do? What are the, you can say, transitions that I would like to have? All are defined here. If I click on state here, you can define which is the start state and which is the end state. And accordingly, the state will get initiated from the start state by default, and you can use the drag and drop as well. If I double click on it, I can give it a particular name. In case if I want to change the name of that state, I can define it here. Say submit for approval. I can give it a name. And it defines that it's the start date or the start state. Once this is done, I can just click on save. Apart from that, I can create an action here. Why click? By clicking on that state 1. Why didn't the name change? Just a minute. Submit for approval. It will change. It will soon change. Once this is done, I can define the action. What action needs to be performed? In case if I want to say create a button. Here you can see that I can add a new action here. If I click here, I will be able to see what I want to do, whether I want to create a record or go to a particular page, or I want to lock a record. I can do that. In case if I want to add a button, I can add a button as well. If I scroll up here, you can see that I can add a button as well. In case if I want to remove a particular button, I can do that. In case if I want to send an email, if I go there, I can send the email. In case if I want to set field display label. In case if I want to change the display label of a particular field, I can do that accordingly. In case if I want to add a button, I'll be able to do that. If I click on add button, it will take me to a page wherein I can define the label. What should be the label of that particular button? Say it should be submit for approval. I can define that. Apart from that, when it should get triggered, it is saying that it is from state 1. It will trigger on before record load or whether it should be on the entry or exit. I want that to be created on the say before record load. And I can define the events, whether it should be copy, create, or when I edit a particular thing, then it can define here. If I don't select anything, it will by default be applicable for all. Similarly, as mentioned the context, whether it should get triggered when I create it from the UI or from CSV. All the contexts are available here. Generally, we don't change it here. That even if we are doing it via script, it gets created. In case if I want to put a condition, I can put a condition as well. If I click on this here, you would see that it will create a condition add button. Once a record is saved or when a record is loaded, it will add this particular button which will say submit for approval. In case if I want to add one more state, I can do that as well. I just have to click on new state. A new state will open up and here I can give it a name. Say it should be pending approval. Once I think approval. Once I click on submit for approval, it should go to that particular state. I have created a state here, but once I click on the add button submit for approval, then it should transition to state 1. For that, what I'll have to do is I'll have to just do a drag and drop for the transition. A transition will get created, and if I double click on it, I can define when this should get transitioned. Here, I'll not do anything. I'll just see on or click on when this should get executed. I've created a button submit for approval. If I click on these, I'll not see anything much. Wait for approval or something like that. But say, if I click on submit for approval, these should get changed or this workflow should get transitioned from state 1 to state 2. If I save this now, here you can see that it will transition from state 1 to state 2 and it will execute on when the button submit for approval is clicked. I'm fine till now. If I click on say enter purchase order, what it will do is as it will, these workflows would make. No, it will not execute for any other. You can see that there is a submit for approval button. The other button is coming from any other approval, but the one that I have created is coming from here. Say I'll just, instead of submit for approval, I'll say I want only submit. I'll just go to that state 1 and instead of these submit for approval, I just change the label to submit. I'll change the label to save only submit. Now I'll refresh this again. Here you can see that we have added a button with the help of a workflow. But why this is currently in line or why we are not able to edit, or you can say click on it, because we are in the edit mode. These will show up only when I open it in the view mode. Then I'll be able to click on this submit button. Are we fine till now? And if I scroll down, if I want to see if something is running under that particular workflow or on the particular transaction, I can just go to the system information and there under system information, you will be able to see the list of workflows that are currently running on that particular page. Are we fine till now? Are we? Similarly, you can go ahead and create various states. You can create various states. You can create various actions and you can put in various conditions as required. Now we'll just go back and see one of the approval workflow which is already there created. Let's see. Let's take this particular basic purchase order, basic approval. Say this is a basic approval that we have created. What it will do is it will initialize when it will initialize and what it will do on the initialization. It will set the field value. Set field value is nothing but for a particular field. You can define what should be the value in that particular field. What it is doing is whenever these were, it means for these created by it will. You can say set the value as user. User is nothing but proof vj. What it will do is it will set the value for created by but field as user. Similarly, the value for approval status would be set to pending approval. And what it will do is it will when the exit happens or whenever I exit. You can say when the page is closed, it will do various return user error or it will set field value as user or next to approver would be supervisor. All these actions are put in here. Similarly, there are various other actions. Say add a button. It has added a button which will say submit for approval. But it will save record first. And the condition is if it is created only by means, created by user only, then it should trigger. It will only show the button submit for approval when it is open. By the user was created that particular purchase order. Similarly, it will display various field value or what it has done is it has changed the display type to disabled. No other user would be able to change the next approval. Similarly, it will change or stay. Set that rule status field to be disabled. All these conditions can be put in and if I go back to that particular transition here, you can see that it will execute when the submit for approval button is clicked. And what will happen is when we come on this pending approval button, it will set the field value as approval, status as pending approval, and it will add the button as well. And these button would be shown only. If you click here, you can see that the label is approved and the condition is approval should be user. That button approve would be shown only to the person or the next approver is user. And also the record is locked that no person is able to edit it. And once this is done, you can see if I click on this transition, you can see that it will execute on the button of approve. Whenever a particular user clicks on approve button, it will come to that state. If I click on reject, it will come to this particular state. And if I click on approve, what it will do is it will set this approval status. You can see a value of that field to approve. The status of that work. Now you can separate will status of that particular purchase order will change to approve and it will not no more be pending approval. And similarly, what it will do is it will send the email as well. That who has created it was. What's the purchase order? ID and it will say that the subject would be POs when number has been approved. All these actions, all these states can be put in a particular workflow. This is a basic workflow. These workflows can get, you can say, a complex as we move on, as we gain some practice. Are we till now any questions related to workflows? We have understood how we can create a workflow, how we can apply to a particular transaction, or whether we want to do it for a particular entity, say employee, customer, vendor. We can define that. We can also define the event stages on when it should get triggered, whether it should be event based or whether it should be scheduled. And once that is done, then we can define the states and we can define various actions on a particular state. And we can also define which would be the start state and which would be the end state. Currently, you can see that there is a year. What this particular thing means is that the status of that particular purchase order will always be approved. It will not exit that particular workflow. Are we till now? This one with respect to save such condition. Will it use the filter in the saved search for that condition? Save search condition is generally used when we want to schedule a particular workflow. I have not seen much workflows which are created, event-based workflows which are, you can say, which are using save search. Save search are used generally for, say, schedule. If there is a result in a particular save search, only then it will get executed over a period of time, depending on the same search results. Say a save search has 100 results. It will get executed depending on the condition, depending on the triggers. It will get executed for all those 100 records at once. Any more questions? Can you show that? Suppose we have created a workflow. Who will be the next approval, where we can define which role it will be get passed for approval or which user it will be get approved. It's the condition that we are putting right. It can be a role or it can be a user. Currently in this particular state, if I come here, set will value. Just a minute. Here we have put it initialization. Here we have set the value as well. Who is the next approval? Here the user should be supervisor. What it will do is if I edit this, it will set the next approver as the supervisor of that particular person or the user who is creating it. Here you can see that I put in the condition as record should be user and the field should be supervisor. What it will do is for the purchase order, there cannot be 2, 3 supervisors. There can be only one supervisor. If I go to a particular employee, the employee will have only one supervisor. How can there be 3, 4 supervisors? In case, if you want that to be on a role instead of the supervisor, I want that to be a role. Then instead of supervisor, I'll select that or I'll put in the role. I'll not define the, you can say, I'll not set the field approver as next approval because if I click on next approve, it will show me the list of all the employees. If in case, if I want to use a different field, not the approver, say next approval role, I can create a custom field which will have the list of all the roles. Here I can define the field as next approval role and who should be the next approval role. In case if there are 4 or 5 people who are having the same role, we'll be able to see that particular button. Do you get it? This is how you can define various, you can say actions. You can define or set various actions as required. Any more questions? There are some purchase orders which are still pending with him. Yes. Generally, what we do is we can also show that particular button to multiple users. Currently, we have only shown one user. You can put in multiple conditions that it should be shown to some other person as well. It will be for us to define the conditions. Let's see. It should be shown to the supervisor and it should also be shown to the administrator role. The administrator will be able to see those buttons and approve it. The thing is you just have to put in multiple conditions there. Here, for example, pending approval, this add button is shown only to the user. I can put one more condition that it should also be shown to the administrator or say any other approver role. If I come here, this is the condition, right? If I click on it, you can see the other page as well, right? That opened. Next approval any of user. Next to menu in one policy and your option, you're able to see that window workflow condition. You're able to see that window workflow condition. And yes, actually void is breaking beacon. Can you see this workflow act condition page? Yes. Here you can define multiple conditions. That next approver should be user, any of user, or you can see the role. Should be say user role. User role should be administrator or any other role. Here I can define the role as well and I can put in the condition as well. In case if that needs to be administrator or say as controller. What it will do is I can put in the expression as well whether it should be an condition or condition. Either it should be next approver as a user or the next or the user role should be as controller. Any of these users would be able to approve it or will be able to see that button. You can put in multiple conditions as required. The workflow also require a lot of yes. Go ahead. If we are creating that on a user level, then we know that these user might resign something. In the initial stages itself, we can define those that it should be either shown to the user or a particular role. Depending on these conditions, this will come up or else if we want to, you can say change the or stop that particular workflow. Cancel that workflow. We can do that as well on a particular page that it gets initiated. For example, if I open this particular purchase order, this is a particular purchase order state. And if I go to system information here, I'll see what are the active workflows. If I click here, I'll get the list of all the approvals which are there in a particular stage. And if I click cancel, it will get cancelled, and the workflow will get triggered again if the conditions are met. It will again go through the approvals if required, if we have already made the things. These workflows required a lot of practice. It requires a lot of hands-on. Unless you do a trial and error, you will not be able to create a workflow, and these workflows are not that simple. They are complex. Now let's move to another section, which would be CSV import. For doing a CSV import is almost similar in each and every, you can say ERP or any other system. First thing is we have to do the mapping. We have to create a CSV file. We have to do the mapping, and accordingly, we have to then upload it as required. If we want to upload a particular file, you need to go to Setup Import Export and click on Import CSV Records. If I click on it, I'll have to define what I want to import. Whether I want to import a chart of account, or I want to import items, or whether I want to import employees, that can be defined here. I can define the import type. Whether I want to import classifications. Classifications are nothing but say locations, departments, cost centers. If I go to say accounting will have all those information such as chart of accounts, consolidated exchange rate, and on and forth. In case if I want to say import employees, accordingly I'll be able to import employees or say employee timesheets and on and forth. In case if I want to import items, depending on that, I'll have to define the record type, whether it's an inventory item that I want to upload or lot inventory, or say service item. You can select it here as required. I'm just taking example. I have not created a CSV as of now. Let's say I want to upload employees. I'll do that. Character encoding and CSV common element. We generally don't change that anywhere, and then I select CSV file from which I want to upload a particular file. I'll just search for a particular CSV. See if I have something. CSV is nothing but you can say an Excel file. Let's see if I can create one. Let's say I'll just say one file as CSV. Or this was the file that we have. Just remove it. Let's say I'll save this. I'll just save it in the CSV format. And save it. And change. Download. This is a say test CSV that I have created. If I go back to this particular import thing, I'll just select the file. If I go to downloads, I'll see this test CSV file and click on next. The thing here is, I have just taken an example. In the real time, you will have to create the actual file which will have all the columns, which will have all the rows as required. Are you till now? Do you understand what is a CSV? What are the things that we'll require in a CSV? Once this is done, I'll go back to import options. It will define whether I want to add a particular record or update a record. Update means they are already in the system and I want to update some stuff there. In case if I want to add as well as update something, then I'll click on add and update. If I want to add something, I'll just click on add and I'll click on next. Once I do that, I'll have to do the mapping. Mapping is nothing but what data should go from the CSV file to the NetSuite. Here, as I was saying, that I want to import employees. Employee related fields here. What I'll do is, I'll add and on the left hand side, I'll see all the CSV columns. For example, if I want to have the financial row, say let it go into account. I can do a drag and drop. In case if I want to add that as an amount, I can say, let's say it is default currency. I'm just taking an example. This is how I do the mapping. In case if I want to say have the birth date, I want to do it as hardboarded. I can just click on this pencil icon and let's say I want that to be today's date. I can select the date as well and I can save it. All the employees which will get updated, you can say uploaded, will have the birth date as 18/1/2021. This is how I can do all the mapping and I can just click on next. Once this is done, I just have to give this import a name. Once that is done, I'll just click on save and run. This is a test. I'll just click on save and run. I know this is not going to import anything because it's a test file. Once this is done, it will show me import job status. If I click on it, it will show me whether it is uploading or not. If I click on refresh, it will show me the status and the percentage complete. If I refresh it again, 89%. Here you could see that it has not imported anything. And if I click on refresh again, I'll be able to see the response file. What it does is, it is showing that 0 of 133 records uploaded imported successfully. Not a single record has uploaded. And if I want to see what was the error, I can just click on CSV response and it will open a file and it will show me the error. What it is saying is, please enter a default currency and subsidiary and all other stuff. It will show me all the things or all the errors that are there. And once they are corrected, I can try it again and upload it accordingly. This is how you can upload a particular CSV file. Any questions related to CSV import? Internal ID. It can be anything. It can be internal ID, external ID, whatever that you would like to. For example, if I go back here on the update, say I want to update a record. Say I'll do the same thing. I want to upload a chart of accounts. I'll select the same file. Say, for example, I want to update it. When I update it, what I'll do is I'll have to provide the internal ID of that particular record. Say internal ID. Internal ID is nothing but the primary key, and I'll have to provide one column for internal ID, and accordingly it will update that particular account. Any questions? You can say this import is almost similar to all the other ERPs as well. The UI might change or a step here or there, but apart from that, everything remains the same. We have to do the mapping. We have to upload the file and then save it. Are we? Once this has been done, in case if I want to use the same CSV import that I've created in the future as well, I can just go to Setup Import, Export and click on Save CSV Import. It will show me the list of all the CSV imports that I've created, and accordingly, I can upload it. For example, Test Customer Upload. If I want to view the mapping, I can just click on View and it will show me the mapping accordingly. Here we have all the mappings. Customer, should we go to customer name? Credit limit should go to credit limit. What should be the subsidiary? On the left hand side, you see all the columns of a CSV. On the right hand side, you see the NetSuite site. And if I click on this test CSV upload, I'll have to go through the same process. Only the thing is, I'll now start to do the man mapping again. It will all automatically or it will have the same mapping. I can use the same CSV import or CSV file and accordingly it will get uploaded. This was it. Do you want any other topic too? We can extend this session maybe by 10 to 15 minutes. Today is the last session. Do you need or do you want to go through any other topic apart from this? Project management, anything if you can highlight. I will go through that in brief. Apart from that, for example, you want to create something here. We'll do that. First, we'll do that. If you go to customizations here, you have center and tabs. If I click on centers, you will be able to see all the centers which are there. Center tabs are nothing but all these tabs that you see. And center categories are nothing but the categories that are there here under each and everything. Center. As mentioned, you have various centers that are there. These are custom centers. We cannot make changes to a standard center. Classic center, accounting center, on and forth. But in case if you want to create a new center, you can always go ahead and create a new center. I have not seen anyone creating a new center. As such, these are all the centers which have come from various bundles or suite tabs that we have installed. Apart from the center tabs, Here you will see all the tabs that are there. For example, if I go to transactions, I want to see what is there under transactions. Here you can see that transactions is there where it's under sales center. If I click on it, edit it, you will see what is there under these center tabs. And under center tabs, you have various categories, relationships, reports, and on and forth. This is how you can define the center tabs. And the last thing would be center categories. Stay under categories. Let's say I go to transactions. If I go to transactions, here you have various things here. Let's say I want to go to transactions and I can define what should be shown. What should be the link opportunities, estimate, on and forth. If I go to transactions, it will show me these opportunities, estimate, sales, orders, and on and forth. And in case if I want to add a particular link, I can do it here. And accordingly, it will show me under that particular center tab. And you can also have the center links as well. This is just for, you can say, information you don't need. We generally don't use this custom center links. This is just the links that are there. Now let's go to projects. Project is nothing but it has various tasks. It can have various resources, it can have its own budget and on and forth. To create a new project, you need to go to list. Or if you want to see the projects, you can just go to list relationships and click on projects, and here you will be able to see the projects which are there in the system. Here we have all the projects, and if I click on a particular project, let's say install solar system on the project, you can define in case if this particular project is related to a particular customer. Here you can define the customer who is the project manager, on and forth, and under schedule. You will define all the tasks that are there. What are the tasks that you need to perform? It will have design, procurement, installation. If you want to edit it, you can do that, and you can define the start date and everything. If I click on edit, you can define the name of that particular task where it should be inserted. What's this current status? What's the plan? Number of hours. Let's say I will require this to complete, or 100 hours to complete this. I can define that, and I can also assign various resources. I can assign resources here who would be working on it, what the number of hours that particular person would be working on. I can define various resource allocations as well. Who would be the predecessor, or which would be the previous task that should get completed. In case if there are any timesheets attached, or you can say by a particular user against this particular task, it will get saved here. All these information can be found on a particular project task. And once this is done, you can also define various resources on a project level as well. In case if you don't want that to be on a task level and want up on a project level, you can define it here. Apart from that, financial will have all the other information. What's the cost of that particular project? What's the billing type? Whether it's at T&M or it's a fixed bid. And everything can be defined here. Under P, and L depending on the transactions that we have entered, the P and will get automatically calculated. And here you can see that the percentage work complete is 00. Depending on the schedule, if I can go to a particular task, I can mark that as completed and accordingly the status will get, or the percentage complete would get changed as required. This was a brief about project. Project is not a, you can say, simple topic which can be covered. Say you know one session or two sessions. It's a highly complicated, you can say, a thing. First, I'll say you go through all the other stuff, and in case if you still have any, and if you want to go to a projects in detail, we can schedule 2, 3, 4 sessions and we can go through that in detail. Is that fine? But this is how the basic project works. It will have a schedule. It will have all the resources, have to follow a financial information, and accordingly the timesheets can be entered. We can see, have the status or overall progress of the state project and everything. Thanks. Any other questions? Any other small topics that you would like to go through? No, sorry, no, something. I think you mentioned accounting topics also. You will come a little bit. There are some accounting topics as well. Accounting topics in the sense that how you can enter a bank check, how you can enter, say, a journal entry. That's it. If you go to transactions bank, here you have all the transactions. Say like write checking case. If you want to transfer funds from one bank to another, you can do that. If you want to create a journal, you can just go to transactions financial and click on make journal entries. This is how you can just enter the transaction. Say I want to enter a check. On the check, I'll define the account from which I'm creating the check. I'll enter the pay, say I'm paying it to Road VJ. I'll enter accordingly. The subsidy would get auto-populated and on and forth. And here I can define the expense. Let's say I'm paying some advance. Under item and expenses, the pages I can enter the account, say advance. I'll see if that there is some. Advance is paid. And say it's $1,000. I can do that and I can click on save. This will just book the expense according. This is how you can create a check. Checks are generally used for entering day-to-day expenses. I'll just select the bank account. Again say best banks. This is how you can save a check. Any questions? No thanks. Clearly for transfers, if you want to transfer an amount from, say, one account to another, you can select the from account, you can select the to account, enter the amount and save. If you want to say you have some cash and you are paying it in the or putting in your bank, what it will do is you will enter the from account as cash and you will enter to account as your bank account and enter the amount and save it. It will transfer from your cash to bank account. Similarly, say journal entry. You can enter the subsidiary journal entry. You might be aware of, right? You have a debit account, credit account. If the amount match, save it. But the most important thing here is in NetSuite. Always emphasize much on this help. The help that NetSuite has provided will solve 70-80% of your queries. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.